Good morning, JSL team. This is Mike King. It's Thursday, June 4th. I'm here again with Michelle and Marie for another update for all of you. You know, a lot has happened here locally, in our state, and around our country over the last week. And I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the protests and the challenges and the unrest that has been going on around our country and even here in Rochester most recently. It is a very unfortunate situation. I think we all saw what happened to Mr. Floyd. It was a tragic, awful incident that occurred. We pray for him, for his family, and for everyone that was involved in that. That's not what we're all about here at Jewish Senior Life. We're about diversity. We're about inclusion. We're a campus of compassion. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that we understand what happened. We saw what happened. It was wrong, and hopefully the country will get itself righted soon. We have enough challenges in front of us right now with this COVID pandemic and the economic crisis we have going on, and then layering on top the tragic situation that happened to Mr. Floyd. It's just really, really awful. So again, I just want to make sure everybody knows that here at Jewish Senior Life, it's not what we're all about. It's never been what we're all about. We're a campus of inclusion. We embrace inclusion, and we're going to continue that as our theme. I mean, we're all here because we work and care for the most frail and vulnerable in our community. And I know that everybody in here has a compassionate heart, has a servant heart. But we have to keep the path forward with the challenges we have here in our campus. You'll hear from Marie that we have a small outbreak of some positive COVID residents, actually 2 COVID residents, and some staff. The staff situation is extremely unfortunate. We really believe it happened because there wasn't proper social distancing in place. And we're going to actually talk about that later on in our video. But some good news for everybody. You'll hear soon in a couple of weeks about a new emergency fund that we're putting in place for all our hourly staff. That in certain situations, certain circumstances, we'll be able to provide a lifeline to each of you financially if there's certain situations where you have a need. Our Feldman loan program, we're going to be looking to upgrade that and hopefully offer additional dollars on our loan program. So we're trying to continue to make sure that we take care of all of you the best we can here at Jewish Senior Life. I do want to remind everybody about just the importance of PPE. You hear me say this every day, every week we're together. But these masks, face shields, washing your hands and gloves are so important. I just read an article recently that there's been over 40,000 cases of nursing home employees affected across the country. 40,000 nursing employees have tested positive. 500 of them, unfortunately, have died. So this is really serious stuff. So when we talk about the importance of PPE, we're just not messing around. We're talking about the importance for you, for your loved ones, for our residents, about keeping safe and keeping well. Thank you all very much.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to give a brief update on what's happening in the Rochester area, as well as what's happening at the Jewish home. Currently, there are around 900 active cases in the community. Of these, around 180 are in the hospital and 20 of them on ventilators. So there's still plenty of capacity in the hospital and in the ICUs. There have been a total of 227 deaths in Monroe County. And just for all of you to know, over 2/3 of these deaths were nursing home patients. So basically, the people that catch COVID and actually die of the illness are almost all from nursing homes. This is really important for everyone to understand because the way that nursing homes get COVID cases is from staff members who bring the illness in. Some may be asymptomatic, some may be symptomatic. And there are usually almost the same number of staff members as residents who are ill at a facility. So that's why we have the same message all the time to stay home if you are ill, and to get tested. Also to wear your mask and face shield at all times when you're at work. So overall, the active cases in our area have stabilized, and as you know, the state is cautiously reopening businesses in the Rochester area. Everyone is still very much at risk of catching COVID, though. We don't have any of this herd immunity, because to have herd immunity, about 60% of a population needs to be immune to the illness, but right now only about 4% of our population has the immunity. So that means that reopening will only be successful if people are continuing to use the same best practices of wearing masks, keeping a safe distance from each other, avoiding crowds, doing the hand washing and sanitizing. That will have to go on. It's also possible that we're going to see a spike in COVID cases throughout the country in about 2 weeks related to the recent mass gatherings and demonstrations. So we'll see about that. But just a word on COVID status at the Jewish home to follow up from last week. We have had a small cluster of COVID on one unit. We believe this was brought in by a staff member who probably transmitted COVID to 2 other staff members and 1 resident. At the present time, no other residents appear to be ill, which is a minor miracle. How did the transmission occur? Well, it's hard to say. Staff has been, in general, very good about wearing the masks and face shields, but be very careful of taking off your mask and face shield in any public area, including charting rooms. Keep on with the hand washing. COVID is extremely contagious. There is also no magic number of 6 feet, just so you know. This is a general recommendation, but a cough or a sneeze or loud talking, singing in choirs, those types of things can spread COVID much further. So any enclosed space for any length of time puts you at risk. We also did the whole house testing of residents recently, as you know, and only 1 resident tested positive. This resident was on transitional care, and believe it or not, the resident had already been positive in March, twice in April, and then at the end of April tested negative twice before coming here for rehab. Then 1 month later, May 30th, this resident tested positive again. The resident had no symptoms of illness, was improving in rehab, and why did this happen? Well, sometimes the COVID virus material can stick around for a long time. The test is very sensitive and can pick up inactive virus. And then some people, not this one, but some people can actually have the waxing and waning infection for a very long period of time. We do not feel that this resident was contagious. No other residents and staff on this unit tested positive. So currently we do have 2 residents in our COVID wing who are receiving care there. So the message this week is the same as every other week, which is to practice good health habits, take care of yourself, as keeping our staff healthy means keeping our residents healthy.
Good morning, everybody. We're here again to give you a brief update. I know Marie did talk about the residents here at the Jewish home and gave you some details around Monroe County, so I'm just going to keep this brief. First of all, around resident testing, you did see the message that I sent out this weekend that the Department of Health came in and tested 290 residents and 1 came back positive, and that gentleman was moved to the COVID wing. We also, during the last 2 weeks, tested folks on one of our households, and we had 1 positive, and she was moved to the COVID wing, and the rest were negative. So hopefully that will continue. It's good luck and good practice, and all thanks to the employees here. Employee testing, we've tested over 550 employees, and that's the mass testing that we're trying to do twice a week. And we've only had 1 come back positive, but she was already tested from the tracing of the resident on one of the households. So that was good. And so far, we don't have any more testing or pending tests of employees or residents. And then just give you an update on some QA things that we're doing around the campus. Screening employees continue. That process is going really, really well. Thanks to Christine and all the screeners and scheduling. That's a lift for folks to schedule and just keep it covered. Testing employees, another heavy lift for us to do. A lot of resources, a lot of work. It actually has turned into like a part-time job for many people. So thank you all that are doing the employee testing. COVID drills continue across the campus. That's just in preparation for us here in the cottages and at Wolf Manor. Those continue. Family communications, we still do our conference calls and we send them emails and update as well as the employees. These videos we do, and we also send messages through email for employees. Resident council, Megan and I videotape that and then we stream it on channel 71 to keep the resident council informed. We've done that twice so far and we will continue to do that. CMS infection control surveys continue. We have not had ours, but I do know our Alliance Homes, Friendly Homes, St. Anne's, and Episcopal and St. John's, I believe, had theirs already. On a positive note, Megan is working on outdoor visits that started June 1st. We do have plexiglass up in Helen's Garden, and we have them doing them in the courtyard over at the cottages. So those are going well. She does actually window visits over 100 a week, which truly is a full-time job for her and her team. A lot of work, but very, very meaningful moments and visits. Just a little bit about the JSL opening. We talked about that we had a work group around this. We talked about safety and visitation. We spent pretty much the whole meeting just around that how the campus will look and feel is going to be very, very different, and planning to change things or still have restrictions, even though this will be directed by the governor. We're not just going to open the doors to everybody. We will have scheduled visits for families, probably not upstairs. We'll probably be in a common area because we know our families. We know they're not going to social distance themselves once they get in those residence rooms. So, and I will update the families on that just so they have a kind of a general idea how it's going to look when we open. Outpatient, Chad and I working on that, policies and procedures and screening. We are looking to open outpatient June 15th. I'm working with Amanda about on adult daycare, which is another directive from the governor when that can open. And that program will look very, very different because, as you know, we can't fit 85 people a day in that space in social distance people. And then just some other areas that we're looking at, admissions, HR, recruitment, how does that look, interviewing, things like that, PPE, visitation, screening, technology for the opening of the JSL, and then dining and programming, because we know that these two things are very, very important to our residents. So how can we continue to do dining or bring people back together for dining and programming and social distance the residents? So that's pretty much it. I will continue to give you updates, and I hope that you find these helpful, and be safe, and thank you. It's Mike and Michelle this morning, and we're going to go through some areas and show you proper social distancing and some situations where we've seen staff that did not social distance from each other. So we're going to start here in the lobby. So when you come into work, make sure you get a face mask and you put the face mask on before you proceed into the lobby. And the same thing when you leave, don't take your face mask off until you're outdoors. So now we're going to continue on to some other areas and show some situations. Everybody, this is an example of not social distancing. As you can see, Mike and I are closer. We're not 6 feet apart. No face mask, no face mask, no face shield. So this is what we don't want to see continue. And this is an example of proper social distancing. And if you also notice in the charting room, we have some tape, caution tape, just to remind staff, and 6 feet apart signage in all of the charting rooms. And just remember, we should be reminding each other of social distancing and reminding us to wear our face masks and our face shields throughout the day.
I'd like to add something. Michelle told me not to talk, but I thought I'd say a couple things. We are going to be installing plastic shields in these charting rooms and dens as well over the next week or two.
So just as we have been showing you situations in different charting rooms, this is one of the charting rooms where we made a change. There was 2 computers or 3 computers here on the countertop, and then we just made one over here to encourage social distancing. We added the caution tape on the floors and then signage on the cupboards. And just like Mike mentioned earlier, so this is where like the plexiglass will be placed, just to make sure that we are social distance.
So this is an example of what not to do, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So why is this wrong?
Because I don't have a shield on, both our masks are down, and we're not 6 feet apart.
Correct.
In the employee cafeteria. Just to wrap up this session for everybody, you've now seen some examples of the right way and the wrong way to social distance. Today, we're right now in the employee cafeteria. If we had food in front of us, this would be the right way because we could take off our shields, our mask, and we're 6 feet apart. I wanted to let everybody know as well that we're going to be installing these plastic barriers all across our campus at Summit, the Wolk, and the Lodge over the next couple weeks in an effort to keep continuing to protect each one of you. Thank you. So in closing, I just want to remind everybody that there are resources here on our campus to help any of you that may be struggling with any of the challenges that are going on here on our campus, in our country, and in our community. Feel free to talk to your manager, to our employee coaches, anybody else, if you are finding some personal challenges around this. We had a great presentation today. Hopefully there's a lot of good information. I really encourage you to watch this over and over because you're going to see us exhibit the right way and the wrong way for social distancing. And please remember to send any questions you may have to our COVID hotline that is shown here on the screen. Thank you all very much.